We now move to First Minister's questions. Question number 1, Johann Lamont.
Thank you very much, Presiding Officer. To ask the First Minister what engagements he has planned for the rest of the day.
First Minister.
Presiding Officer, I know the Chamber will allow me to note that today's the funeral of Ian McCormack, the late Member of Parliament for Argyll, and Mr Swinney is attending on behalf of the Scottish Government. Ian was the brother of Neil McCormack, the son of John McCormack, the great Home Ruler. He was a fine Member of Parliament for Argyll. He went to vote terminally ill last Thursday because he wanted to cast his vote in the referendum in person, and we're all going to miss him very much indeed.
Johann Lamont.
Thank you. And on our side, of course, we would send our condolences to his family at what is a very sad time. For the last 6 weeks, the First Minister has warned the people of Scotland, some might even say has misled them, that the NHS would be privatised if there was a no vote. That the NHS would be privatised if there was a no vote. Well, last week there was a vote, and we now know that it is the sovereign will of the people of Scotland to stay strong in the United Kingdom. But some weeks before that no vote, the First Minister of Scotland privatised the medical records of every Scot in the country. Why did he keep that quiet until after the referendum? Isn't it the case that Alex Salmond has done more to privatise the NHS than anyone else in Scottish history?
First Minister. First Minister.
No, it's not the case. The Scottish Primary Care Information Resource is an IT system which replaces another IT system. To describe a contract for the Scottish Primary Care Information Resource as privatisation is like saying that this Parliament is being privatised because we use the Windows system in our computers. It is a ridiculous argument to put forward. The Spire system gives very substantial advantages in terms of the collection and governance of information throughout the National Health Service. It is right and proper that the Government have sought and received guarantees on the data security. That is absolutely the right thing to do. But for Johann Lamont, who denied, indeed, I think Alistair Darling actually said that no government would privatise. I should have a look at what Andy Burnham has been saying at the Labour Party conference, confirming the route to privatisation and charging that they believe is going on at Westminster at the present moment. So, given that is now being confirmed by the Labour Party, will there be some acceptance of the knock-on effect that has in Scotland in terms of finance and the importance, the critical importance for Scotland's future of controlling not just the administration but the finances of our National Health Service?
Johann Lamont.
It might be a while since we last had an exchange of questions. That is no more credible than anything else you have answered over the last period. Because the First Minister and his anointed successor Nicola Sturgeon have increased the number of NHS patients treated privately by almost 500%. He spends £100 million of public money on private health care. This government privatised our health records during a campaign in which he claimed the health service would be privatised if we didn't vote for him. And guess what? He was privatising it anyway. Now that the campaign is over, will the First Minister be honest with the people of Scotland and admit he is doing more to privatise the NHS than anyone else in Scotland?
First Minister.
Less than 1% of Health Board expenditure goes to the private sector in Scotland. The figure in England is already 6%. According to the Labour Party, it's heading towards 20%. To describe a software and IT system as an example of privatisation, when the same company, incidentally, already provides such systems to the health boards in Scotland and has done so since 1998, it is what happens to the Labour Party. I've said that the Daily Telegraph has become the House Journal. If the Daily Mail has become the source material of the Labour Party, then we can see why their questions get ever more ridiculous. The position for the Scottish Health Service is a simple one. That is to say, if there is a move to privatisation south of the border, that is the move to privatisation and the introduction of charging, and therefore a lowering of public spending south of the border, then that impacts on the finance of the Scottish Health Service. That is why, in order to keep our National Health Service in public hands, then we have to control both the finances and the administration. That is what we should do, that is what we intend to do, and that is what is supported by the overwhelming majority of the Scottish people.
Johann Lamont.
There has been a huge increase in private spending on the First Minister's watch. He knows it. So perhaps the First Minister could break the habits of a lifetime and indulge in a little truth-mongering. The First Minister claimed and now appears to continue to claim the NHS would be privatised if there was a no vote. But as he said that, he was increasing the amount of public money spent on private health providers. And the First Minister, 6 weeks before the referendum, privatised the health records of every person in Scotland. Will the First Minister just admit that he has done more to privatise the NHS in Scotland than any other politician in history?
First Minister. Order.
An IT system and the use of a computer system from a company which already provides IT systems to GPs across Scotland, it does not constitute privatisation of the National Health Service. What it constitutes is having a better IT system than we have at the present moment. Johann Lamont has argued that I should be speaking and I should beware of my anointed successor. As I read in the papers, there seems to be a number of anointed successors for Johann Lamont. But she can be confident in the support of the members of Parliament which she leads at Westminster. One quoted in the Herald asked if Ms Lamont was under threat, said yes, people will rally round, but the sharks will be circling. Now, can I say to Johann Lamont that one leadership election and political parties in Scotland is enough at any one time. But we can be absolutely confident that whatever else happens, then there will be a lot more people voting in the SNP leadership election than there would be in the Labour Party one.
Johann Lamont.
Don't worry, when the First Minister is long gone, I will still be doing my job on behalf of the people of Scotland. As an optimist, I hope the coronation of Nicola Sturgeon still ensures that she might answer a question or two, which self-evidently her boss has not been able to do so. But to the serious business of this government, we now know, because of the courage of a whistleblower, that there are £450 million worth of cuts the First Minister is planning to the NHS. But he decided not to tell us until after the referendum. During the referendum campaign, the First Minister secretly privatised the health records of every Scot, while warning. It is astonishing that he was privatising the health records of every Scot while warning of the dangers of privatisation. The First Minister has increased spending on private health care to £100 million. I ask the First Minister, why does he say he's against privatising the health service when that is exactly what he is doing? When was he planning to tell us about the £100 million spent in private health? When was he going to tell us about the privatising of our health records? And when was he going to tell us, in honesty, about the £500 million worth of cuts to our precious health service?
First Minister.
MSDI, the company concerned, has supplied software to the National Health Service across the UK since 1998, so by definition that means that Tony Blair must have been privatising the health service in 1998. Actually, I think he started the process of privatisation when they pushed through foundation hospitals in the National Health Service in England, including to Scottish health boards. They were involved in the design and management of existing systems to calculate payments for GP practices across Scotland. An IT system, a computer system, does not represent privatisation of the National Health Service, nor does a £450 million cost pressure over the next 2 years, of which the most... Well, the cost pressures are caused by both pensions and the ending of the National Insurance rebate, both decisions taken by the Westminster Government. Now, does that not exemplify the position of the Scottish Government, that cost pressures originating from Westminster have huge impact in the Scottish National Health Service? I am delighted to confirm to this chamber we have increased health service spending in the front line in real terms, and we will continue to do so. I am delighted to tell this chamber that the vast majority of people in Scotland understand why we have to control the finances of this country and our health service, as well as the administration, if we are to be prevented from Tory and Labour attempts to privatise our health service. I think Johann Lamont says she's going to retain in her current position. Yes, I hope she behaves and continues as leader of the opposition in this Parliament for some considerable time. But if so, it won't be because of the enthusiastic support of her own colleagues. Quote, "The catastrophic thing would be for her to go and not to have Jim Murphy as leader. If we end up with an MSP or Anna Sarwar, we might as well go home for 2016. Now, I am not as pessimistic about the Labour Party's prospects as the Labour Party. I am sure that Johann Lamont will put off an excellent fight in the coming election and end up exactly where she is now, as this party continues the National Health Service in public hands.